There is one photograph that repeats itself in every city. Officials in white helmets, oversized scissors, a ribbon, and behind them a freshly completed glass tower. What the photograph does not show is the sequence that came first. That land was a railway yard and it was public. The metro line reaching the door was paid for by the city. So was the park at the entrance. The planning rule allowing all that height was amended specifically for the scheme. And the offices in that tower pay tax at an agreed discount for decades. The question holding this video together is uncomfortable and strictly accounting. Who really wins when a city is transformed? The mechanism always follows the same order, and that order explains almost everything. First comes the public decision: rezone the land, allow more floor space, draw a station. That decision alone multiplies the value of the site before a single brick is laid. Then comes public investment in infrastructure, which makes the plot usable. Only then does private capital arrive to build and sell. In other words, the public sector creates most of the value and the private sector captures it. No corruption is required for this to happen. It is enough not to write down how much of the uplift returns to the city, which is exactly what contracts usually omit. The second mechanism is how risk is shared, and here public-private partnerships show their real face. In many contracts, the administration guarantees minimum demand, backs the debt, or commits to compensate if revenue falls short. If the scheme works, the profits are private. If it fails, the contract is renegotiated and the cost is spread across everyone. The researcher Flivjerd, after studying hundreds of major projects across more than 100 countries, formulated what he calls the iron law of megaprojects: over budget, over time, under benefits, over and over again. 9 out of 10 exceed their forecast cost. Overruns beyond half the budget are not unusual. That systematic failure is no accident, and this is the harshest part of the analysis. Flivjerd argues the initial forecasts go wrong not only through optimism, but through what he calls strategic misrepresentation. To win political approval and financing, it pays to present the lowest cost and the highest benefit you can still defend. Once construction starts, stopping becomes politically impossible, so the overrun is accepted as inevitable. On rail projects, average cost deviation runs around 40% while actual demand falls well below what was promised. The estimate is not a technical error. It is a negotiating tool dressed up as arithmetic. Follow the money in one concrete case. In a major New York operation over former rail yards, the city extended a metro line to the site for around $2.4 billion, funded the internal green spaces, and granted developers a substitute payment replacing property tax at a discount of up to 40% for 20 years. An analysis by the New School put total public assistance in the billions. Part of the private financing, moreover, came through an investor visa program legally intended for areas of high unemployment, applied here to luxury towers in the middle of Manhattan by drawing the boundary creatively. The same pattern is recognizable in Spain under different names. A large cultural complex in Valencia ended up costing several times its budget, while the debt stayed on the regional balance sheet. 2 regional airports were built for traffic that never appeared and were eventually sold for a tiny fraction of their cost. The record also shows the problem respects neither ideology nor scale. The largest urban operation in Europe, in northern Madrid, has been under negotiation for more than 2 decades over railway land, with enormous development rights and the recurring promise that the city will recover its share. That share will only be real if it appears in the agreement with figures and enforceable deadlines. Now the counterargument, which is serious and deserves room. Without private capital, a good part of these transformations would simply not happen. Administrations face debt limits, electoral timetables, and little technical capacity to run works of this scale. There is also the vacant land argument. If a derelict site produces no revenue, giving up future taxes is not losing money, because that money never existed. And there are genuine successes, whole districts that went from railway wasteland to generating jobs, housing, and steady revenue. No sensible person argues the city should sit still waiting for sufficient public budget, because that budget is not coming. It can still be argued that this defense gets deployed far too quickly. The right question is not whether the land was empty, but how much its value would have risen from the rezoning alone, with no added incentive. When an administration grants the rule change, the infrastructure, and the tax exemption all at once, it pays 3 times for something the first signature already made possible. The editorial position is this: partnerships are not the problem, asymmetry is. A balanced contract states in advance what share of the uplift returns as affordable housing, who absorbs the loss if demand disappoints, and what happens if costs explode. Almost no agreement contains those three clauses together. Return to the opening question. Who really wins when a city is transformed? The winner is whoever owns the land at the exact moment the rule change is signed. Everything else, the architecture, the park, the lighting at night, is the staging of that transfer. And it is worth saying without drama, the transfer can be legitimate if the city negotiates well and collects its share. So when the next great project arrives with its gleaming model, the useful question is not how many jobs it promises. The useful question is only this: if this goes wrong, on whose balance sheet does the whole appear?